Welcome back to the cast. This is the Colorado Kayak Fishing Club podcast. I'm Matt Collins, and I'm joined today with Alex Rojas. Thanks, Alex, for coming on.
Thanks, Matt. It'll be fun. I'm excited about this particular show. It just brings us back to the roots and how this club started. So I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, me too. You can tell already just from talking before the show here. This is going to be a really fun show. We've got the founders of the club on tonight, so we've got Johnny Wegienka and Dave Kooser, and we've kind of been talking about how we wanted the show to go, what we wanted to talk about. I'm really excited to have them on and introduce them, but I do want to introduce yourself as well, Alex. First time coming on here, and you've done a lot for the club, so just go ahead. The stage is yours.
Sure. Yeah. So I started fishing in 2015 with the club. I got addicted, obviously, to kayak fishing. Fell in love with the club. They were so welcoming. I'll get into this a little bit later, but Johnny and Dave were a big part of for me. They were huge for me personally, and what they did for me and how that club became something for me. They're just great. So we'll get into that though. But I owe them a lot, so I'm really excited about having them on. So 2015, I started fishing. 2016, it took off from there. They asked me to be a board member back then, so I was treasurer for 2 years. After that, I went on to become president of the club for 2 more years, and then after that, I was another 2-year stint as the tournament director. So I've had the longest tenure, I think, for the club, 6 years, as far as being on the board. So it's my first year off. I'm kind of excited to take a break, to be honest, and just fish. But I love this club, so I'll do whatever this club needs. So yeah, that's my history there.
That's awesome, and I'm sure a lot of people saw it, but on April Fool's, we had a nice post from Josh saying that he was going to step down and put you back in charge as president.
Oh, man.
So,
yeah.
that was
rich.
A
good one.
Yeah.
No, that's good. But yeah, let's get these guys on it. So, like I said, I wanted just to really quickly say how appreciative I am of both these guys. First off, for starting the club, getting tournaments going. They're the reason why we have this club today is because of these two guys and a few other people as well. But they're the main two guys that really got it going. And we'll talk to them here in a minute, but yeah, I just want to say thank you to them. But let's go ahead and introduce them. Go ahead, Matt, bring them in when you're ready.
All right, I'm going to bring them in a sec, but I want to say thanks to you, Alex, because you're carrying it on, carrying on the torch. I joined last year thinking I was just going to do one tournament, met you and Ronnie and some other guys, and I think I fished like every tournament after that. And you guys are just so hospitable. I just love it, and that's my favorite thing in Colorado since I moved out here. So man. Yeah, let's get these guys in here.
Right on. Thanks, Matt.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for coming on, guys. We've got Johnny and Dave here. We might have had a technical glitch there, so if our screens look a little different here. We got everybody in. Just want to start out with introductions. Johnny, we'll go with you first. Go ahead.
Okay. Hey, my name is Johnny Wegienka. Let me see. I've been fishing for a long time, not competitively for a long time. I just took that up probably around 2015 when we did our first tournament. But I've been fishing since I was a little kid. I'm from Lansing, Michigan, a long time ago. And yeah, so go ahead, Mr. Dave.
Thanks, Johnny. Dave Kooser. Let's see. I think the first time I fished was in the early, and I'm dating myself right now, but early 1970s in Germany, fishing for trout. I think I did my first tournament in 1986 or in 1987, and I love competitive fishing. Right now, I'm not into the competitive side of it, but still fishing. That's probably a little bit about me.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this question because this is a kayak club, right? So I love asking this question. Johnny, we'll start with you. How did you get into the kayak fishing thing? Because you guys are OGs. When we talk about OGs, you guys are that. So.
Yeah. Ironically enough, I started out on a little fish cat, one of those little paddle boats, right? Not paddle boats, but those inflatable fish cats. And then, man, I ordered a Tarpon 10 from a kayak shop in San Diego, California. And that was one of the only kayak shops around. I didn't know anything about, actually New Anchorage hadn't even, in Lyons hadn't been in place yet. So yeah, I get this 10-foot orange tarpon, and I met Jason. I never forget. I met Jason Dong at, where was it? It was at Quincy, and he had one of those crazy kayaks, and at the back of it, it split. And we got caught in some rain, and I just remembered that he would, I don't know, for some reason, but yeah. So where am I going with this? I've been doing the kayak stuff for a long time, and it's just been really fun. It was easy because you'd store it in your garage. I don't know. I used it as a social cat. I'm a social guy, pretty social guy. So for the fishing out of a kayak, I kind of, once I found a couple friends that had kayaks, I instantly attached to it. Go ahead, Dave. What's your thoughts, sir?
How did I get into kayak fishing? Well, I kind of stopped my boating tournament activities in probably 2011. I won 2 CWA championships, 2010, 2011, and I just got tired of it, the travel and the cost and the expense and hauling the boat around. So I bought a kayak, and within a year or two, I'm looking for tournaments. I've got to have that itch scratched. So I wasn't a Facebook person at that time. It was probably 2014, 2015 that I finally found CKFC. 2014, I found CKFC on Facebook, and that's kind of my entry into CKFC. And Johnny and Chris Lee and Chris Malloy, and I don't know who else was kind of the original founders of CKFC. But you guys started on Google Chats or something?
Yeah. So I'll tell you the story of how it all began. And
Perfect.
It's of epic proportion. It's probably one of my best days of fishing in my entire lifetime. So if you know me, I'm a tech guy. I love gadgets, right? So I got this little 10-foot tarpon, and it's pimped out with everything under the sun. I mean, I got a downrigger on a 10-foot kayak, right? That's me. So I had met Chris Malloy, because Chris Malloy was on the Hobie kayak fishing team, and he had started a fishing tournament north in Fort Collins called the No-Mo Series. And they did that for 1 year. It did okay. Him and Aaron Kooser, I think was his name. So anyways, yeah, we decided to go up to Horsetooth and meet at Horsetooth. A new guy, Chris Lee, totally awesome guy, fly fisherman guy, really a heavy, really great fisherman. He was on a Hobie. And so was Chris Malloy and Eric Cushion. I was on my little tarpon. I was just, rocking and rolling. But moral of the story is we're fishing, and it's about midday, about 10 o'clock, and the sky's open, just downpour rain, and it's downpouring rain mid-April, April 14th or 15th of 2012, if I remember right. Beautiful 60-degree day, but just downpour rain. Chris Lee hooks into a nice 17-inch fish on a small red type of, gosh, I don't even know what to call it, a bottom bouncing kind of fly. It's a hair jig. Hair jig is what it was. So anyways, he just starts whacking them, right? And he just crushing it. And about the 14th fish, I go up to him like, hey, dude, what color are you using, And he just calls us all over, and he starts handing out all his flies. That day, I swear, was probably one of my first 50-fish day. And here I am, like a new fisherman, super green, especially in Colorado. Back in Michigan, I would fish for carp, and because we lived in, I was a downtown kind of kid, and it was 20-pound trilene on an ugly stick and a can of corn. Let's go. Catch a shop card or two if you had to. But anyways, long story short, 50-fish day, just of epic proportion. And then the rain stopped, and it was about 3 o'clock, and we're just exhausted. We get off the water, and I'm like, holy crap, how do I get a hold of you guys? Right? All those guys live up in.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
His Wi-Fi was going crappy there at the
It
end.
was. Oh, my goodness.
Dang.
His energy's. Remember I told you about his energy?
Yeah.
It's infectious, man. It's great. All right, let's pick it up,
So can I
sir.
keep going?
Yes, please.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. So it's at the end of the day, my boys are we're packing up, and I'm just, man, I had the most epic day fishing ever. I'm like, holy crap, how do I get a hold of these guys, right? So we exchanged numbers, all that, and I was like, sweet. And by the time I got home, Chris Lee had started the Google group which was totally sweet, right? So we started meeting up, using the Google group to say, hey, I'm going to Horsetooth, or hey, I'm going to Quincy, and folks started. So what happened is that kind of got out. Google had some good search functions, and people started joining. I believe Jason Dong was there early on, and some other folks, and pardon me, I don't remember. I partied hard in the 80s and 90s, so my memory's a little sketchy. But where I'm going with this is it started growing. Right? I know Alex is kind of funny. Anyways, where it's going, it started growing a lot, but the Google Groups functionality kind of sucked because it was, email based, and you're sitting at work and you get ding, 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 ding. So, I talked to Chris Lee, made the group in Facebook, and we made the transition, and that was the game on from there, right? So, so as it started to grow, in that we were really just kind of focusing on meetups and stuff. So Dave, can I talk about this and go on and until we start to make the decision about the tournaments, and then turn it over to you?
Yeah, go for it.
That's cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. So anyways, yeah. So in the beginning of CKFC, it was really all about meetups, right? Because again, I'm a social person, and I used to not like fishing alone, So and fishing was a way for me to meet people and get more friends. So I was very, very, very active in the Facebook group in the first, and was constantly trying to market and getting it out. We had Fish Explorer, so I'd be spending my time at Fish Explorer, giving people advice, telling them to go to CKFC, go to all these other groups and send them to CKFC. And then it started growing, it started growing pretty big, and it turned out I'm like, wow, this is getting pretty big. We had like almost 200-300 people, about 200 people. Sorry, about 200 people. And then Dave came in, right? And it's still going and grooving. And then I started kind of thinking about this. I'm like, okay, Dave had pinged me about a tournament series or something of that nature. So I'm a kind of a dreamer, and I had mentioned in the past I grew up pretty poor. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I started thinking about what can we do with these 200 people. Right, we got 200 people. In the first beginning of all of this was a dream of mine to do a lake cleanup. So I'm really bummed that I missed that Pueblo cleanup, man. I had a family commitment that I could not miss, and family's more important, sorry. But moral story is that was my number one driver. So I contacted Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And I'm like, hey, I got a group of about 30 guys, we'd love to come out and clean up your lake. And they told me to pound sand. I'm like, what do you mean? We can't just go in there? No, you can't. You got to have a permit to do that. What do you mean I gotta have a permit to clean up the cattails and all the crap and the beach balls that flow down, whatever? Yeah. Well, okay, what are the requirements for that? Well, you got to be a company. You got to be an entity. That's what the guys told me. You got to be an entity. So I'm like, okay, think about this. So started CKFC. Wanted to do the nonprofit just because I wasn't looking to put money in my pocket at the time. There was a few fishing groups inside of Colorado that were very much for profit. And I just didn't want to go that route. I wanted it to be a social, fun gathering of hanging out with the buds, meet new friends. That's really where my focus is. I love people, right? Thanks, Alex. You're a good dude. So yeah, so that's the goals. And then we met Dave, right? Dave was amazing. I'm just going to set him up a softball, dude, because at the end of the day, he came in exactly where I needed him to. And it was kind of a God's way to say, dude, if you want this dream to happen, I know you're kind of against the competition fishing stuff, because I didn't like that at the time, because in my mind, I didn't think it was very social. But Dave just came right down out of the sky, landed right in front of me and said, hey, I'm here to give you a medium, a path towards goal for money. I know he's got a little halo going there, except I know him, so that halo needs to be a little crooked a little bit. But, so anyways, Dave, go ahead, my friend. Tell us about the first time we met at Chatfield with at the picnic table with Chad Simcox, Aaron LeDuc, Angela, and all those other people we were talking about the tournaments. Go ahead, turn it over.
Yeah. So I had run tournaments with the Colorado Walleye Association. I was a president and a tournament director, and I had a couple different positions with them when I was with them. So I knew how to set tournaments up, and I had a plan, an agenda, and Johnny just kept getting in the way. No, he didn't. He was going right along with us, and me. There were other people that did kind of get in the way, but they're no longer there. Thank you, Johnny, for taking care of them.
Yep.
But no, we set up,
Welcome,
initially we wanted to do a multi-species kind of a deal, maybe 1 or 2 tournaments is what I was thinking. And, just to float the idea and see how many people would attend and see if it could grow. We even though we were the Colorado Kayak Fishing Club, we wanted to get tubes in there, float tubes and kayak and canoes, all kinds of, whatever, however you could get on the water without having a true boat. And the first couple of years we did that. So I was really surprised that it took off as fast as it did. I mean, we had 5 or 6 tournaments in 2015 and, no less than probably 30, 35 people per tournament. So it took off well, and it's kind of grown. And, I only had 2-year stint as a tournament director. That's all I wanted to run. I wanted to get it set up and going and then step out. And, the progression and the infusion of interest and new blood and knowledge kind of has taken it to where it is right now. And it's huge now. But Johnny, you and your OGs are the reason that it is where it is right now.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. I spent a lot of time in the 2 years between the conception of it and when we went first tournament wise, really scouring the internet and advertising and marketing CKFC everywhere I could. I had a dream for a long time that I actually wanted to fund when I was president. This is the last year of president. I was going to buy all the stickers and hand them out to everybody. Actually, we used to do that, hand them out to everybody at the tournament. Because one day I want to just drive down the street and see one of our stickers, man. I mean, right? I mean, as corny as that is, it's really kind of not, because that's huge, right? I mean, if you think about what we do for the community and for it to be that spread open, that's anyways. Yeah. See, I'm kind of a cheap ball sometimes. So.
Dude, that's perfect. I just want to say thank you to both of you personally and from the club, honestly, right? Personally for me, I remember that first tournament I went to at Pueblo in my float tube. I'd never been on a kayak. I bought a kayak 3 days before that tournament. I didn't even know how to launch on the kayak. I watched everybody launch and leave, and I was studying how they got in the kayak so I wouldn't flip. But I reached out to Dave. I think it was Dave. I sent the email to Dave. You probably don't remember because I was anyways, but just asking if I could participate in a tournament with my float tube, and you said yes. You were extremely welcoming. You were helpful. You gave me everything I needed, made me feel very comfortable and very welcoming, so I appreciate that, Dave. Then I show up to the tournament, and first thing in the morning, what do I get? At dark 30, Mr. Johnny Wegienka, with that energy he has, that infectious energy is just ridiculous, right?
It's better than coffee.
It is. It really. We're all there. It's 4:30 in the morning, and he's just bouncing. I mean, you can't stop the guy from talking, bouncing. He's introducing himself to everybody. He's extremely inviting, and I fell in love with the club that day because of both of you and the way you ran the tournament and the way you were so welcoming. I was so nervous. I was shy, and you guys just, I mean, it felt like home immediately. And it felt like a little community within a community there. And hopefully today, it's still that same thing is still there today for people that come and join the club for the first time.
So I read a lot of the Facebook posts. I don't post a lot out there, but I think that same enthusiasm and invite method and was still there. I hear it. I see. I don't hear it. I see it in posts. To this day. People are always appreciative for what the club does and the board members do for new people.
Yeah, so what I love about the club is it's a great entry level club as well. I'll always look at it as an entry level club. Inviting to everybody, welcoming to everybody, and sharing knowledge is probably the biggest part of it. I know, like Dave, you've shared so much knowledge personally with me and with everybody, right? So yeah, I just hope it maintains that. That's what I really hope. Anyways, but I just want to say thank you to both of you from me personally and from the club. Because without you guys, we wouldn't be where we are today. So yeah, and what this club is and what we do is incredible. So I want to transition to that, if I could, Matt. Is that okay?
Yeah.
If we could transition into how you've discussed how the club came to be, how tournaments came to be, but not really why and what we try to do with the proceeds that we make. So if you could take that, Johnny, and tell us kind of how the vision came to
Yeah.
be as far as giving back to the community, right?
Yeah, so I'm just going to drop some knowledge. So at the end of the day, like I mentioned, I grew up pretty poor, right? So as the club had 5, 6, 7, 800 people and started to continue to grow, we're a nonprofit. To be able to tap into these resources and these sponsors to get donations for our tournaments, right? So the idea is I'm looking around, and please don't be offended, folks, but there's a lot of rich folks that are into kayak fishing, right? I mean, I'm looking at my kayak now where I'm looking at, $6,000 worth of rods hanging from my ceiling here. But my story is, there's a lot of money there, right? And people were willing to kind of pay for some Saturday equipment, right? So that was the whole idea of being able to take the tournament side and the nonprofit, tie it together, and then find a beneficiary, if I might say. Now, I guess, like I mentioned, I grew up wicked poor, running the streets of Lansing, Michigan, with my fishing pole sometimes, but most of the time it was like nunchucks up my sleeve, and I was kind of a street kid, whatever. But we would go to the Boys and Girls Club, and that's where you went to for your lunch. So I spent a lot of time there, and started thinking about it, and I'm like, if I could turn this into some kind of like donation thing, and we could take some of this money, maybe we could do something for the Boys and Girls Club. Right. So contact them. They were super excited. Dave did some amazing stuff, and I'm not downplaying Dave at all. Dave took me under his wing too. I'm not really fishing. Let's put it out there. But at the end of the day, I learned a lot from a lot of people, and Dave was one of those that, really went out of the way to kind of welcome people and to help people that were struggling. I've seen that a few times out of the fella. Don't want to ruin his reputation, but it's true.
Yes.
So then I started thinking about, how can we take that money from said people having a great time on a weekend to, the Boys and Girls Club. So that's how it all kind of started. And I got really emotional the day that we were able to hand them the check for $743. And I asked them, like, so, this really got to go for food. I don't want it to go for bathroom toilet paper for the Boys and Girls Club. I don't want it to go to administrative fees or any.
Oh no.
All right. So anyways, where was I? I forgot.
Boys Club. No, you didn't want the money going to toilet paper and administrative stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. So yeah, I really didn't want.
I was paying attention.
You're awesome. So yeah, so it was really focused on feeding, and then he told me in that phone call that it would feed 2,000 kids lunch for 7 days. And I tell you what, guys,
Wow.
I cried. I cried and I cried and I cried. And to be honest with you, I still have that thank you card on my refrigerator downstairs right now. That's something that I'll be proud of for the rest of my life. I've done a lot of things in healthcare and using cyber to help advance healthcare and cancer research, that kind of stuff. But yeah, that really hit me hard. So yeah,
that's big. That's big, Johnny. Because I remember I was lucky enough to be the treasurer and take that donation to them and drop it off. And how thankful they were, and that was a moment for me as well. Even though I wasn't tied, it was your guys' donation because you were the previous board. But that was pretty big going down there and giving that donation. So yeah, that was huge.
Thanks.
Huge. And where we are today, from then to where we are today, I mean, wow, right? Wow, right?
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's just it's really empowering to know that a large group of people with their hearts in the right places, I'm gonna get a little sappy, can make a big difference. I mean, if you think about all the changes and all the donations we've done over the last 10 years, everything from Boys and Girls Club to women's battered shelters to veterans to do the list, and you think about it and you're like, okay, yeah, women's battered shelter, but start thinking about all the women that were suffering and had hardships and stuff that helped. I mean, it's pretty incredible, and I'm really proud of it, guys. And I'm incredibly thankful for all the people like Dave and Jason and Eric and Alex, and the list even goes beyond I can even spell. But it's just incredible to see when you do something and it's awesome, and you hand it over to awesome people, and they just take it even further. So I'm incredibly thrilled.
That's awesome. I actually, so I went in and just pulled like some stats from the club, just doing research for the show. And, you're talking, a couple guys starting this, and then you had, you guys, and you mentioned, we got a bunch of guys. We got 200 guys. We have 4,000 members on social media now, over 4,000. Last year, we went from that 743 donation. Last year, we donated $7,500 to the Boys and Girls Club, the same one, which is awesome. And I actually did a poll. So for some of the sponsors that we have, we've got so many sponsors. We're giving 2 kayaks away this year, and really, it's awesome to give that away. But that's going to drive more money into these donations, which is really the coolest part about it. And we wouldn't be able to get these sponsors if we didn't have the turnouts and attendance that we do. I looked up just on Tourney X to see like how we stacked when I was applying for like the Old Town sponsorship. And it's not, you'd think in Colorado that, we wouldn't compete with people in like Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, some of these places where like that's what everyone does, and fishing's what a lot of people do here. But, kayak fishing in Colorado for bass, especially, or whatever. But we're right up there, and probably I would say the top 10% of tournament participation in the entire U.S., at least on Tourney X where we're looking. So you guys have done amazing things, and it wouldn't be anywhere. Like we wouldn't have these sponsors, these logos that just basically drive money back into these nonprofits without what you guys started. And this year we have True Patriot Outfitters. They're literally giving veterans free tackle on the water when they take them out on a kayak. And like you're talking about, Johnny, with that just being meaningful for you of, the Boys and Girls Club. I get a call about once a year. I'm in the military, and I get a call about once a year of someone that took their life. And I got a call last week on another one. And it's amazing if it helps one person, like you said, that's worth it. So thanks so much for what you do. Alex, I'll let you go ahead.
No, the other thing that we do too is with the smile bin. I think Dave, who started that? Dave, you can tell me about the smile bin. Let me explain what the smile bin is first. You can maybe tell you who started that. So the smile bin is something we've been doing for years, where people donate whatever they want to donate. New stuff, used stuff, whatever it might be. Good condition stuff is what we ask for, and we collect it at every tournament. Or if anybody wants to do it, they can reach out to us as well, right? And we collect it at the end of the year. We have a bunch of stuff, and we give it to some organization. So we've given to like the Southern. Help me out, Dave. The Southern Colorado Junior
Bass, Junior Bass Club or something.
Yeah, the Junior Bass Club, a bunch of kids. I've gone to Bass Pro and met at one of their meetings there, and we had this table. We had 3 8-foot tables, and it was completely packed with lures, rods, reels. I mean, you name it, it was on there. Tackle boxes, the whole 9, right? And these kids just lit up. I'm like, you guys, I don't know how you're going to divvy this up. It's up to you. I don't know. That's your problem. But you got all this stuff, and there's probably about 20 to 30 kids there that day. And, I mean, you can see how excited they were to go through there and find jackhammers. And there's some good stuff in there, Trev Stuckey doesn't like me to say his name much. But Trev is special, dude. He donates some high-end stuff that, like, I wish I had, $200 rods. Like, he's donating some high-end stuff, and he doesn't do it. He doesn't like me even saying his name about the stuff. He does it in the background, but I just like to give him the recognition and say thank you to him. Not only him, but lots of people. Jason DeLong does stuff as well. Lots of people donate tons of stuff. So, Dave, how did that get started? Because that's an awesome thing that hopefully that tradition continues.
Yeah, so I might miss it, but I'm pretty sure that Eric Ali came up with the smile bin terminology. And, it was like a bucket or a trash can or whatever. It wasn't really a bin. It was just some big, repository to dump stuff into. And, that actually got me thinking. Every year, I am such a tackle junkie. I buy stuff when it comes out from iCast right away. And I don't just buy one, I buy 100. And, at the end of the year, I'm realizing, well, I haven't used those. I haven't really figured out how to use them. I'm going to throw it into the trash. And at that point, I'm like, no, I'll just throw it into the smile bin or, save it until the smile bin comes around. So I think it was Eric Ali that started that. But yeah,
Great. Yeah, I know.
I throw a lot of stuff in there too. In fact, I've got a bag right now and I don't know what to do with it. It's sitting in my boat. It's so big.
No, that's a great. It's another thing that CKFC does is special, right? Yeah, I love that. So I just wanted to bring that up. Sorry. What else you
I
want to talk
fished
about
all
there,
over the
Matt?
country.
Sorry, go ahead.
I fished all over the country the last 3 years. I've been traveling a lot, doing all these, and none of these other clubs have that. They really don't,
No.
folks. I mean, that is really unique. And that shows our character, and all the other clubs that I fished were all for profit. Ours was the only one that was nonprofit, and the camaraderie and the friendliness shows in our tournaments. You folks have seen me in tournaments. They know I'm chatting with them and telling them, talking to them, blah, 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 blah. And in those other tournaments in Alabama, Missouri, Arkansas, they're not that friendly. Trust me, I tried talking. I tried talking to them, and they're like, "Who is this crazy boy? Why is he talking to me?"
No, that's awesome.
Hey, Johnny, one other thing that I saw, you were talking about the lake cleanup. Josh Hines is actually sponsoring that pretty much himself this year. So in May, we're doing a lake cleanup at Pueblo. We're going to go out there, pick up trash, and then Josh is like having barbecue or whatever for everybody. And then, water and whatever else there.
I have an idea. Real quick. I will donate a $100 gift card if we can weigh the trash. Like have a competition that day of who can pick up the most trash, right? And I will personally donate a $100 gift card from Shields to that cause. Just
I like it.
I mean, it's cool, right? And and it would really help out. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Keep going.
Matt. So let's talk about Josh also, because I want to give kudos to Josh for organizing this, running it. He's gonna provide the barbecue. And talk about his other donation with the tournament giveaways.
Yeah. He's also giving away an entry into, I think, I don't want to misquote him here, but I'm pretty sure it's both. So he's going to give away one bass and one multi entry as well that day. So
random person, right?
Doing a ton. Yeah, just for a random person that's there picking up trash that day.
Yep.
So when in May is that thing at Pueblo?
That is May 6th, I believe. Let me double check my calendar.
Oh, Cinco de Mayo, eh?
Uh-oh.
No, Dave, that would be
the
6 de Mayo. 6, not cinco.
Well,
let me confirm.
Close enough.
That's about as close as I get to Cinco.
Hey, it's the day after. It's on the weekend. Yeah, Saturday, May 6th is the Pueblo lake cleanup, and we'll have a bunch of information. We'll be promoting the heck out of it on the Facebook page and everywhere else. So
sweet.
Yeah. So Alex, we were kind of talking about this a little bit, but maybe like some of the changes that have happened over the year. I know, Dave, you were mentioning, at first it was just a strictly multi, and it's obviously branched out from that. So, what are some change, like the big changes?
I'll say the first big change that I remember is, so we used to get insurance through ACA, American Canoe Association. We had to pay for that. It took some of our money out of our bottom line that we donated to have to pay for that. Each angler had to pay $5 every tournament. So KBF thankfully came along. KBF now sponsors us as far as insurance goes, and they provide it all for free. So it allows us to get more money at the end of the. But the problem with the only issue, not problem, but the only issue with it is that the reason I became part of this club was out of my float tube. I was competing out of my float tube before I got a kayak, right? I wanted to, at least, right?
Yeah.
So we used to allow canoes, like Dave said earlier, right? Anything that basically wasn't a boat, right? Well, now with the insurance, it's specifically kayaks only. So that was a change we had to make, and we've shut down a lot of people, and they've kind of get like, why don't you allow canoes, or why don't you allow float tubes and such? And that's the reason why is the insurance piece. So that was a big change. One of the big changes I remember. You guys have any others?
No, I think that's the biggest change, and actually, I think another big change that I see is we used to take everybody's cell phone cameras and zoom in and look at them and say, yeah, that's a 16 and a half. We'll give you 16 and a half for that. Well, then all these apps started coming out, and the apps didn't work too well initially here in Colorado just because of cell service. But now, they seem to be working fine. At least last time I had fished, they had. So that was a big change, looking at people's cell phone and zooming in,
Oh
in the
my
sunlight and
gosh.
trying to figure out if that's a 16 and a half or a 16 and a quarter. So
Yeah.
that was one of the bigger changes
Those were
from my
huge
perspective.
challenges, right? So when you ran the tournaments, we had to launch at the same place because we all didn't.
Yeah.
We had to make sure you're on the same lake, so we had to launch at the same place. So the problem that it had with that is, like, say you launched at Pueblo South, the marina there, everybody fished in the same area. You have 50 people fishing one little area. You couldn't get away. There wasn't that many pedal kayaks. I mean, everybody was on top of everybody. Literally, it was a challenge to say the least, right?
Yeah.
And then with the people would come in, and like Dave said, we had a little card we had to write each fish on. Like your 5 biggest fish, you had to write the inches, and then we had to verify them. Dave would get, you take that card, and you had to show them on your camera, scroll through all the fish, show him, and a little tiny screen sometimes. You'd zoom in as much as you could. It was grainy. Dave, you could talk about it all day long. It was
Oh, yeah.
it was so hard to see what line they were touching. Sometimes it was just a guesstimate. I mean, it was a challenge, right, Dave? I mean, it was hard.
Yeah, I solicited people from the crowd. Hey, come
Right.
here and verify. Help me verify, because I couldn't get them all done myself. So, yeah,
Right.
we had to use other anglers and people, just sitting there watching.
Yeah,
to-
it was.
And I used to love that, to be honest with you. I'm just going to throw it out here, right? I got a whole group of guys waiting in line, and I'd chat them up. They'd be stuck there, and I'd chat them up going down the line as they're waiting to get verified. It was great. I got to meet everybody. It was so fun. Dave was busy and, trying to do all this stuff, and I was just chatting. So, yeah, I enjoyed that part of it. But, yeah, it was quite a event for every tournament.
Yeah. So we had to get there early because we also had verified boards. We had to get your waiver signed, physically signed while you were in line. We had to get your boards. You had to check your white light, your PFD. You had to bring it. We have a line of people, right? 40 people in a line.
Yeah.
At 4 o'clock in the morning, because we had to do this like an hour before light, maybe an hour and a half before light, because we had to get through everybody before we could release everybody to go fish, right? So it was a process. Like I remember sitting there on my laptop. And I was the guy. That was the data entry guy. I was just like, oh yeah, he checked in. Okay, he checked in. At the end of the day, they come back in. Same thing at the end of the day. We had to verify all the fish physically, manually, and I'd enter them in my spreadsheet and do all my magic in my spreadsheet, and we get our winners. Boom, here's the winner list, right? But it was a process that took time. But like Johnny said, because for me it was great. We were there for an hour and a half before and an hour to an hour and a half after, trying to verify everything. But that gave people time to socialize and meet.
Yeah.
And that was a great part of it as well. Now it takes us maybe half hour to 45 minutes. So it's not quite as much time. In the mornings, you have no time. Morning, you show up and just go, right? But before,
if you have no chance of winning, you could potentially never even see any competitors. You could launch on back end of a lake, draw out on that back end of the lake. You've submitted your one fish pick, and you go home, and you're like, man, that was fun. I didn't see anybody. I didn't meet anybody. I didn't do anything,
That's why. So back in the day, we had the camaraderie was just that. It's all about the camaraderie for me. It's that's what it is for me, right? But what I ask people now to do, and this is a great opportunity to bring this up, is because we don't have that like we used to, but we still have our ceremony at the end of the day. Is I urge people, if you don't know somebody, come to the ceremonies. Come to our events. Come to the ceremonies at the end of the day. We do a bunch of giveaways. I say we like I'm part of the board still, but I'm not. But CKFC still does all these giveaways to random people. You may not have caught a fish, but you're probably going to win something because almost everybody gets a prize, right? We give away some really great prizes to random people, not just the top 10 or top 5 or whatever. Anybody can win these prizes. And then it gives you a chance to meet people and to talk to people and to make friends and friendships. Matt, I met you that way, right? After one of the events, I met you, right, at last year. And we become great friends now, right? So a lot of my closest friends now are part of this club. And that's the truth, right? And it all because of at the end of a tournament or before a tournament. So I encourage people to please show up after the tournament, go to ceremony so you can meet people. We all love the same thing. Obviously, we're doing this for a reason. And we have a shared interest. So it just flows very naturally to make friendships that way. So anyway.
Yeah, we have a big push for that. And we've been talking about that on the board this year because we have so many sponsors and so much money pouring into the club this year. It's not a problem. It's a good problem to have. Like, what do we do with all this extra stuff? So come to those end of tournament banquets, even if it's just, hey, I want to win something, but you're going to get a lot more out of it than that. You're going to meet people. People are going to talk about, hey, what worked for the last, top 5 typically. We get up there and, hey, what worked for you? And not everybody's going to, spill the juice on what it is, or maybe they spill a little bit, but that's really the opportunity to see like other people that are around there. And everybody's super humble at these places. I haven't met a jerk in this club from anybody that I've seen up there. So yeah, if you're going to come to an event, especially if it's your first one, stick around for the end of awards ceremony or whatever. So absolutely.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Let me ask this question. I just kind of want to put you guys on the spot a little bit here, Dave and Johnny. So how it started in the vision and where we are today, has anything strayed more than you like it to stray one way or another? Do you think it's still in line with what your vision was and where you thought the club would be 10 years later? And I'm asking for honesty here. If you don't like something, please bring that up. Constructive criticism is great too. So just trying to, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'll go first. My vision was not as strategic as Johnny's. Mine was more operational at that point. I want to get tournaments started, because I used to fish them out of boats. There's nobody that really did it, from a multi-tournament type of a function in Colorado. I know the NOMO had their Horsetooth tournament or whatever it was, but it didn't repeat, it wasn't multiple times a year. So my strategy, my vision was get tournaments going, multiple tournaments each year, try to get that fired up and going. And, the nonprofit was, I think, the only way for the club to actually raise money, unless you ask for, donations from each of the members. So, tournaments created money, and tournaments created, membership and created more interest. So that was my focus. Johnny had more of a strategic vision. And Johnny, you want to go into that?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the tournaments were the path and the means to get to the next level. And I've never shared this with anybody else, but I actually had conversations with a Utah club, New Mexico club, and a Kansas club. And I had actually started a top level club called the Rocky Mountain Kayak Club. Started to make it a nonprofit as well, and then kind of lost my enthusiasm. But I had a much bigger vision for all of this, and being able to turn it all into a nonprofit, and then have each sub club donate like CKFC does. But I kind of figured out that I'd like to spend a little more time fishing, but so it kind of takes away from that. But where the club is today is incredible. I'm incredibly proud of it. The only thing that if I could magically change somehow, but without really changing it, would make it so there was more social connections on the water. I believe that because it's become so competitive that folks aren't as willing to share. Hey, dude, check out this Ned color. I'm just slamming them on. I think some of that has kind of gone away a little bit, at least some, but not in my circle, because my circle is really small. But outside of what I see, that's kind of what I see. But then again, when you're playing with money and title and stuff like that, sometimes the competitive side comes out, which is totally awesome. But in my opinion, that is the only thing I would kind of steer a little bit, would have it to be more of a social club. But you kind of can't have both in a lot of ways. Does that make sense?
Yeah, with the competitive side of it, I get it. I will say this though, Johnny, I don't believe that's gone away. And I'll give you an example here. So for spinning 11 mile, I normally invite I try to invite everybody to come stay at my father-in-law's property. And we all camp out there. We usually have 15, 16 people met, something like that, right?
Nice.
Let's stay out there, and they camp there, and we drink and we shoot guns, safely. We have ATVs out there sometimes. We play bags. And then people are tying gear up, and you can see people just gravitating to different, and start sharing things. Like last year, I was talking to Pete, Pete Erickson. He was teaching me about the way he rigs his tube jigs up. Brett Windling was sharing how he does his hair jigs. Me and my jerk base, I share all that information as well. And so if people are actually there, like, what knots do you use? What do you use for that? Matt, right? We're all sharing, right, Matt? You're there. We're all sharing all this information. What line do you use? Oh, I only use 6 pound for pike. You use 6 pound. That's what I use. And people are sharing different information, right? So it's still alive. Maybe you don't see it quite as much, but it's still there. I don't know if it's the same level, but it's still there. And that stems from me learning from like Dave Kooser. They're teaching me about little tricks of the trade. So hopefully I'm paying that forward from people who in the past helped me along the way. I didn't own a bait caster until 2017. I didn't know how to throw a freaking bait caster. The first bass tournament was at Lone Tree. Is that right? Lone Haggler? Lone Tree. Lone Haggler. And I went to that one.
Long haggler.
And I still was using little floats on my spinning rods because I didn't want to lose them. Right?
Yeah.
That's the level I was at, right? And I'm throwing a little popper on my spinning rod. No clue what I'm doing. Never targeted bass. I caught them, but I never targeted them, right? And I'm popping this thing with my spinning rod. Had a bunch come off because I couldn't accept the hook, right? Because that little spinning rod was giving too much. But again, I was really new to bass fishing, and so many guys, Paul Ross, Jason Duong, Trev, the list goes on and on and on, Mitch, Dave, all these guys just taught me so much. It got me to the, I won Angler of the Year, bass, Angler of the Year. I never thought that would happen. I don't think it'll ever happen again, but it's all because of those guys showing me stuff. So I pay it forward, and I'm sure other people do the same. And I've seen the spirit still lives, though, Johnny. I believe it does, at least.
Good.
Yeah.
I just, I stepped out for about 5 years, and
Right.
kind of, so yeah, I'm not involved in that circle, but I believe you, Alex, and which is freaking fantastic. I'm so glad to hear that, because that was really a driver for people that are at all different levels of fishing, right? And that's how you get you elevate your game, is by having your friends help you out. So that's good to hear that y'all folks are still doing that, and it's living well.
Yeah.
So Alex, while you were talking about the float, the pool noodles tied onto the end of your rods, I just pulled up a picture. I see it right now.
With my little float on there.
I got a little slideshow, and I'm sure there's a couple on there.
Let's do it. Go for it. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and do that, Matt.
Yeah, I want to say,
go
like, on you, Alex. Like, so it's 100% going forward. That was one of the things that was so cool. It got me in the club. But dude, Alex, last year I saw we were camping out. I don't know if it was Trinidad. That's another thing. Hey, we camp out at a lot of these places. So if it's over the weekend, like John Martin, there'll be a bunch of guys like at the campground or Trinidad, those type of places. But I think it was Trinidad last year. It might have been somewhere else. But there was a guy on the water trying to pre-fish that day, and he was just striking out. But he was like camping out by us, and we're all over by the fire, just having a good time. And I see Alex go over to his truck, and he's getting all of his tackle out. And he's literally showing this guy what he's going to use the next day. He's like, hey, this guy's, had some tough luck today. I'm gonna help him out. I hope he catches some fish. And like, so Alex, like, you can talk about other people doing it, man. You're doing it yourself, and you're carrying it.
Paying it forward. That's what I'm doing.
Hell yeah. So
very nice, very nice.
Well, cool.
Dave, I saw that picture.
Let me look here.
I just sent it.
Oh, fantastic. All right, let me get this slideshow going here, guys. It's probably good. I think it'll mute us all. I got some. It's just a video. A lot of people in the club put in some pictures, and Dave, I got some from you as well. So this is just like a little recap of some stuff that we've got. So enjoy it.
Yeah. Is that Wellington Lake?
Yep.
That's the first event?
A herd of turtles going out.
Look at that.
Horsetooth.
That's Horsetooth, okay.
Yep.
Is that Aurora?
Aurora, yeah.
Aurora.
Yeah.
That's my second tournament.
Ooh, look at
There
that
he
handsome
is.
fella.
There he is.
Manual check-in.
Manual check-in.
Roof racks.
The old J-Rax, everybody had them.
That was Chatty, I believe.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, it does look like Chatty, yeah.
Chatty for sure. Look at that. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Some good times, man.
Real.
Is that you, Dave? Yeah, that's you.
Yep. I was working with one of our board members' kids at the point in time. Can't remember who it was though.
Gotcha. Well, there's Mr. AOY right there.
Yeah.
Yep, buddy. He's a stick.
He is. I remember that's the initiative. They were so thankful that day. The lady was crying. It was great giving that donation.
Yeah, there's some good people in that picture right there too.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Whoa. Yeah, me too.
That might have been my first check I cashed. I think that was my first check I cashed.
That's awesome, man. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous?
That was Lafer. Yeah.
There's the
Dave's
guys right
cashing
there.
checks.
There's
Dave's
the two
cashing
guys
checks.
right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great times, man. Just wow, dude, that makes me really smile. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
We've come a long way.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially there are a lot of paddles.
A lot of pedals back then. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Right?
Yeah.
No, but I mean, even back then, like what's cool is I looked at like the numbers. Man, I had them written down. The one thing we were talking about, things that have changed and stayed the same. Pueblo, the first year with the lowest attendance, they get 24 at Pueblo. If I looked at all the attendance right.
Yeah.
And now that's
Wow.
like that's the go-to, but that was the lowest one, like starting out, your lowest number is 24. There's clubs that are not touching that ever.
Right.
And, on the national area. So I mean, we've got tournaments over 50 now.
Yeah, we have to cap some tournaments.
Yeah.
We have to cap it
That's
at 50 because
awesome.
they don't allow us any more than 50.
Yeah.
So that's I mean it's great where we are and how much we're able to raise now is just incredible. I mean last year $7,500 is just ridiculous, right? From a fishing
really
club,
is.
just guys going out doing what they love, and we're able to raise that much money and give back to the community. That's what makes this so damn special. On top of everything else, the camaraderie, meeting people with things we all love. It all comes down to giving back to charities, the community, and to our fellow anglers, right? So
Right.
yeah, it's just incredible. And again, it's all thank you to you two guys who really got it going on the tournament side, Dave, Division, Johnny, and I know there's other people there too. I don't want to say there's other people. It's not just you two, and I know that there's a lot of other people behind the scenes that made this happen. But and I mean, if you guys want to talk about maybe the guys who helped you get this going, maybe we can give some kudos to them as well because they're well deserved for them too.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I'll drop a couple names really quick, like Matt Neverman. He was pretty critical in the beginning. Jason Dong, obviously. Erica Lee. Dwayne. I can't remember Dwayne's last name. He was part of it. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Marcos?
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
Who do you got, Dave? Who would you like to nominate here or drop out?
Any board member that followed us as the original board is, they're due the same gratitude as us because they continued that process, and it's even more difficult now. It's bigger, it's more technical. It's a little bit more than what it used to be. So I think anybody who's on the board, post you and I, Johnny, they are, they owe the same, or we owe the same debt of gratitude to them. But yeah, Jason Dong and Fred Padilla, that was the one I couldn't remember. I was working with his son.
Fred
yeah, it just came to me. So there was a bunch of them, but I'd say, Jason, Fred, even Paul Bissonette at one point was a solid member of the club and really helped with anything. He wasn't ever a board member, but just a solid member and helped anywhere he could.
I was going to say that too, Dave, because there's people who aren't board members who didn't want to take the responsibility on, even today, that we also owe a thanks to. There's lots of people out there that just help. I mean, yeah, when we try to nominate those people, now we have the Sportsman of the Year award that we try to do every year to nominate and to give thanks to those people that aren't board members, but but help out the club
They
tremendously.
contribute.
So
Yeah.
absolutely.
You know, another person I want to drop and say a huge thank you to is the person that created this logo, Chad Simcox. Dude,
Right.
Yeah.
stellar, great guy, right? Just
He
went
is.
out of his way, took his
He is.
professionalism and went it to the next level and gave us this amazing logo, right? And yeah, so it's that kind of stuff of a lot of people coming together that made all this happen. It wasn't just one or two, like Dave mentioned, it was all of us collectively and adding on to it, you know, and here we are. It's pretty incredible. There was one more thing I'd like to add, right? So
Please.
again, I'm going to go back to some of my passion. We're 4,000 members strong, right? Why could we not make more of an impact on CPW? Right?
Amen.
We used
Amen.
CKFC back in the day we all showed up at the meeting and took the limit from 25 down to 10 wipers out of Pueblo. We all stood in the room and voted, and it was awesome. I'd like to kind of see something more of that coming, right? The ability to take our numbers and really make a change, guys, because guys and gals, this is huge, right? 4,000
Yep.
marching in one direction. Go ahead.
So I stepped out of the club, right? I just, I did my 6 years and I'm done there. But I'm not done. I'm not done as far as kayak fishing goes. So my next venture is going to be exactly what you're talking about there, Johnny. I'm putting this out publicly now, is that I am going to start getting with CPW because we need kayak launch areas. Stand-up paddle boards and us need specific areas to launch out of. I've had this too many times happen to me where I go to Chatfield or somewhere and I drag my kayak all the way down. I don't go to the boat ramps. I go somewhere else and I drag it all the way down there. First thing in the morning, no one's there. I go, no problem. I come back, there's bank fishermen everywhere.
Yep.
And I'm coming in and they're mad at me because I'm coming straight to where I launched from, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, I got no options. I can't pick this kayak up. I have no
Right.
options. And I'm telling them, and they're upset with me. And I'm sorry, I really am. And so same thing at boat. You go to a boat ramp and you launch, and it takes us longer to launch and to come back in and load it up. And the boat guys are getting upset. Why are you launching here? You can launch wherever you want. They don't understand how heavy they are, right? And I've seen people almost get in fights because of this stuff, right? It gets to that level. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get a CPW to give us access points at different lakes and put signs up that say between this sign and this sign is for kayak launching or for SUP launching, right? And no fishing between these two signs. And it only has to be 20 feet or something like that, right? To give us access there. And that way, if anybody argues, they're like, there's signs here, guys. This is where we come in, right? And give us gravel or concrete to be able to launch from. So I'm taking that onus on myself, and hopefully other people will join me in that fight. Well, I'm going to start going to the CPW meetings. I'm going to start getting involved because that's something we really are lacking right now is is access areas around the lake to get away from 100%. The boat ramps. So that's something I'm going to drive, and hopefully that's one piece of it at least. So
yeah, use us as all of us because we all have to share that passion. I'll tell you a quick story at Pueblo. So at the same problem, right? Show up, launch in the morning at DOW ramp, everything's gravy. I come back, and of course there's a family barbecuing right on the ramp, right? And they got 2 pit bulls that are not on a leash. Right. So I'm like, oh crap, what do? My truck's on the other side of them. I have to go through them. Dude, I thought that dog was going to eat me alive. I'm really not joking at all. And he was laughing and thinking it was funny. And I'm going to overshare a minute, but I had to show him, like, dude, I have a gun and I will shoot your freaking dog if it tries to attack me because it was growling and I literally was stuck on the water and you're drinking beers and they're like, well, why are you coming through our, barbecue spot? So I had to have that conversation. So Alex, that kind of stuff happens way more than we want. But yeah, I would love for you to use the club to kind of help drive that.
Yeah, the strength of numbers. So I'll definitely use that. So,
For sure.
Anyways, what else we got, Matt? Where do you want to go with this?
No, that was really all I had.
Okay.
Tying off what you were saying there, we had a show on safety. I think that's, last year was like the deadliest year in Colorado for water-related deaths. Yeah. And I mean, we're your PFDs out there. That's the biggest thing. But man, like I think Horsetooth's a good example. I mean, it's kind of shared with the boat still at that launch up there at Satanka. But I mean, that's primarily a cove that people can do paddleboarding. Tons of people out there, paddleboarding, kayaking. And it's like a no wake zone as well. So it's safe for those people that are there. And it's just a little protected area that, hey, you can go in there with a boat, but, you're not, waking over some family that's just trying to, go paddleboarding with their kid and potentially killing somebody. So I think that's a really good good project.
Example.
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot more. How about, I guess I'll just ask each of you guys, what's one of your funniest stories from being out in the club over the years, if you've got
I'll
any.
say one. I got one. So, you're on the water. You have to handle your business sometimes. You got to go, right? You got to go. I got two. You got to go. I'm going to overshare because that's who I am. I don't get embarrassed or whatever. So I'm at national championship down in, where was that one? It wasn't Kentucky Lake. It might have been Gunnersville. No, it wasn't Gunnersville. I don't remember where it was, but I'm on the lake and I got to go. It's not number one. I got to go,
Oh,
and
boy.
I'm a mile and away from anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and we have all been in those situations. I carry bags with me, grocery bags. So I scoot off my seat a little bit, kind of balance myself, and I aim in the bag and then handle my business. But I don't want to just throw it after I handle my business, and I carry wet wipes with me and everything like that, right? So I've had to go to shore before too, but so I have wet wipes and everything. So I handle my business, do everything. And now I have this bag, and I'm like, what do I do with this damn bag? I'm not going to throw it in the lake, So I toss it in the back of my kayak, right?
Oh boy.
It's in the back of my kayak. I smell all day long. I'm smelling this damn thing. It's just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, right? So whatever. End of the day, I'm going to the boat ramp, and I hear somebody. They just said, "Oh, what the hell's that smell?" I, as fast as I could, got my kayak and I rolled it up to the parking lot. Yeah, but I know it was me. So it was what I was carrying with me in the back of the kayak. So that's one story for me. The other story I have too is I was at Boyd. There's a tournament at Boyd, and I went and I had to go to the restroom again. Kind of my IBS thing that I have, right? So I get off the water, pull the kayak up, put it on the ramp. I go to port potty, whatever, do my business. I come back, my kayak's not there. So it's a little lesson for you guys, right? Is when you put your kayak up on shore, put it up on shore by a lot, because just a little bit, with the waves coming in, it just pulled the kayak off and it drifted away. Right? And I look off in the distance and my kayak's way out there. And Jeff Rising, I'll never forget, Jeff Rising has my kayak and he's paddling it back to shore for me. So yeah, those are my two stories.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's for me personally, but
Dave, Dave, what do you got?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I got to poke my mind's eye out. It's just not going to work now.
Right.
Geez, I would say at Horsetooth. So first couple of years, quite often I just go out in my boat and take pictures of the kayakers as they were fishing and whatnot. And I took my boat up to Horsetooth, and Johnny was out there fishing down a bank, and he threw a lure, or maybe the wind caught it. That's what it was.
The wind caught it.
The wind,
Yes,
right?
the wind caught it.
Wind. Yeah, wind
Yes.
caught it, and took it about 100 yards up onto the shoreline into a tree. So we had Eric Lee was in my boat. We were taking pictures of Johnny trying to retrieve this lure way up in this tree. I don't even know if you got it out, but I was kind enough to give you a mercury shower that day. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, did you really? Nice.
Yep.
Little rooster tail. You gave a little.
Yeah, they got me a little wet.
Close to him, and you trim the motor up, and you just floor it, and just.
That's awesome.
Someday, my friend, someday the love shall be returned. Maybe when you're in a wheelchair and you're a little more self-defenseless, then I could, I'm just kidding. That was really a good time. Yeah, they gave me a hard time about catching trees about that for, oh my gosh, almost a year. They had made memes and all kinds of things. That was good stuff. My most funniest time was bathroom related as well. But it was at Horsetooth, and I was, you're just standing up doing your business, and you got your container. And what I didn't realize was, because you're balancing, right? You're really staying focused here, right? Because you just gotta stay focused. As three paddleboarders with young college girls came around the thing, and they woof whistled at me as I was standing there. And here I am. I'm like a dorky fisherman, and just got my waders on, but they're pulled down to my knees, and they wolf whistled at me. And I tell you what, I hightailed out of there so fast with my tail between my legs. It was so embarrassing.
Does CKFC have a members only club?
About to. Oh man,
that's good stuff. How about you, Matt? You got anything?
I didn't have one until Johnny just brought that up. It reminded me of, so last year I was pre-fishing for a Horsetooth. I went up there like a weekend before or something. It's like a Saturday, so everybody's out there partying, And I go into one of the coves, and I just bought Live Scope, and I was like, all right, I'm looking at this thing, and I look up from my screen, and there's this gal is completely naked on the shore. And I was catching fish at this spot, and I tried so hard to just look at my Live Scope. I mean, her husband or boyfriend was like right there with her, and I was just like my kayak could not be pointing more of 12 o'clock exactly to them. So I tried to turn around the boat and then and then I just left. No.
You couldn't do it. Huh?
I couldn't do it, man. It was. I've heard a lot of stories about Horsetooth. I'm sure I'm probably not the only one that's had it.
Pueblo's the same way. I've had some instances of Pueblo with the same kind of deal. Some of those little coves in the back. And,
yeah. Gross Reservoir was like that for a little while as well. Just to throw that out there.
It was something. Oh man. No, that's awesome. Well, hey, thanks guys. I'll wrap it up here. I want to thank you guys for your time. First, I do want to thank our sponsors that we've got. Got all our platinum sponsors up here. Like we were talking about, these sponsors allow us to get more people interested in the club and ultimately give back more financially, make a bigger difference at the end of the year. So, and we've definitely talked about that. We do have a few events coming up. Our first tournaments are going to be next weekend, actually. So the 15th and 16th of April, we've got John Martin for Bass and Multi. And then our monthly tournaments are ongoing as well. I think you've got a couple of days to sign up for them if you haven't already. And then the end of April, we've got two groups going out to Missouri, to Truman Lake, to do the All-American Kayak Classic. So we got two teams competing for that, and obviously the individual competition as well. And then May 6th, like we discussed, we have the Pueblo cleanup. So we'll weigh it, Johnny. We'll
thank you, Johnny. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'll be there. That's exciting, folks, and I'm going to market the heck out of that. That's awesome, Josh. That Josh is doing that. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for everything you've done for the club. I mean, I've only been into it for a year, so I've got limited exposure, but this is a really special place, this club and everything it's doing, and it started with you guys. So I was really excited to get this show on, and this is by far my favorite show that I've done. So, and thank you, Alex, as well, for your 6 years of service and your continued efforts with CBW. I'm sure you're going to be on the board again at some point. It'll happen. But thank you guys so much. And then for everyone else, thanks for tuning in, and catch us on the next one.
Thanks everyone.
Awesome. Take care, everybody. Bye.
See you guys.